This is a Heart and Hand production. Hello everyone, I promise you a breaking news update as soon as news broke, and it has broken. Rangers have a new manager. It is Giovanni van Bronckhorst, the former Feyenoord boss, and of course the former Rangers midfielder, a man who has quite literally done almost everything in the game, will now become the 17th permanent manager of our club as we celebrate our 150th year. Joining me to discuss this is, first of all the way from Florida, Martin Ramsey.
Good morning, good afternoon, David, wherever it is where you are at the moment.
It's about evening. It's about 5 o'clock here. And David Marshall joining us from the equally glamorous Linwood.
Who's to say, what's nicer this time of year? Good evening. At least I know what time it is. So there's that.
Yeah, exactly. There is that. Right, folks. Well, I mean, it was the worst kept secret, despite the fact that I tried to tell you as much as I could tell you, and people were abusing me because it wasn't apparently specific enough. But Rangers have a new boss, Martin. I think it's been pretty clear from the weekend who it was going to be, and all signs indicate that Rangers identified their man. Did speak to other candidates, and they did speak to other candidates, but Gio impressed them right from the first meeting. Wanted the job. Really wanted the job, which is obviously key, and it's been done in under a week, in all honesty, because the search began the Thursday and it's done, completed and signed now. It's not bad.
It's not bad at all. It's not bad for the club, who has been maybe taken aback and has lost the manager, not of their own. It's a totally different ball game when you have your finger over the trigger. And you're thinking about jettisoning your guy. You'll have something lined up. You should have something lined up, and therefore those arrangements are a lot quicker. So you're right. We conversation to the weekend. We were convinced, I think, of who we wanted and what we were bringing in. But it's not as simple as that. So it's also taken a few days to get that right. I would imagine, as is often the case these days, it's more about the other guys, the kind of backroom team, and making sure everybody is in sync before you can announce. So, yeah, I think all things considered, been caught in the hop. We've moved swiftly for modern football.
Dave, I think that it's a popular choice. He's somebody that has a track record of playing good attacking football, the kind that we've kind of grown used to the last few years, and more importantly, the kind we've got a squad to play. He knows the club, and I think that it is important that somebody who really wants the job. I'm still scarred from the whole Le Guen experience when David Murray did well. He went and he sold the club and he sold the vision, but when you don't have that "I'm desperate for this job" thing going on, and someone arrives in the door, it doesn't take much for them to go, actually I made a mistake. If they didn't really want it, then they don't really prize it, is what I suppose I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I think that's fair, and I think Gio pretty much ticks all the boxes that we're looking for at a manager at the moment. He ticks that right away, the gets it box, because he's been here before, won a couple of titles, a treble, won a few cups in that, which is nice. Hopefully can keep that going.
A Rangers double. A League Cup. No, it wasn't the next year. It was a double. It was a proper double.
No, it was a proper double.
The actual double,
The wrong double, I'll shut my mouth. But he does know how to win a League Cup.
Yeah, he does. I know he's got the CV as a manager and a player. It is an exciting choice. It's an attractive choice for somebody, my age, David. This was one of the guys that I pretended to be playing out in the streets. You wanted to be Gio, and were repeatedly told that you can't get his name on the back of your top because it's 50p a letter and stuff like that. But yeah, it's one. I think it's the one we all wanted. It's been one that's been coming up for a few years ever since he impressed at Feyenoord. I think we all had an eye on him as a future Rangers manager, and I'm just absolutely delighted that we've got over the line. It seems how down we were last Thursday credit to the board. I really wanted them to get this sorted before this weekend, and they've managed to do it. So, yep, all happy in this front.
Yeah, and I think as well, Martin, the board kind of quite single-mindedly, Ross Wilson is the guy who did it, that he clearly had a list ready and went through it and picked the guy he wanted and got him in the door. I'm still scarred by October to December 2017 when Rangers dicked about, didn't seem to have a clue what they were doing, eventually turned around and offered it to the guy who was the bookies' favourite on day one and didn't even get him. So, I think I like little signposts on the club as becoming, what it should be. And I think this is a very large one.
Oh, yeah, it is. I mean, I'm always wary of using the mid teens as a kind of base, because we were quite clearly utterly shambolic. We were not ourselves, but I know what you mean. This is clearly a different league. Go back to my other point, having something in place to go is a different thing from having ideas, because I don't think I would have been alone. I don't think Ross Wilson would have been alone. I'm pretty sure all of us would have been probably expecting Gerrard to maybe the summer. And that could possibly be the time at which he's looking on. So I think everyone was aware that we would be preparing for that in terms of having some ideas. Getting those in place is obviously a different ball game. So that would have been a long way in the thinking, at least. And to go back to what you said before, it's a different club from what it was 5-10 years ago. But it's proper Rangers, So there's no. It's as it should be. It's a good different.
David, playing career shouldn't matter, right? We know that. We get that. But let's be honest, Steven Gerrard didn't get time at Rangers because of his spell at Liverpool under 23s.
Exactly.
It does have an influence, and I do believe that a manager needs buy-in at the start. I do believe that is a very important thing. And rightly or wrongly, because we're already fond of this guy, that he will get that. I do think that's huge, but also I think a manager needs buy-in from the players, and it really does help if you can go in either as a manager or as a player, but somehow to go in and say, well, here's my medals, here's what I did, here's why you should listen to me. I think it's huge.
I totally agree with that. I think it's an argument we made with Gerrard before we did win the league. He can go into that dressing room and say, listen, here's all my medals. What have you won? What do you want to win? And, you look at a guy like Gio, he's won leagues in England, Spain, obviously with ourselves. His last ever game as a footballer, I believe, was a World Cup final. So, you can't get much more of stature than that. And we talk about that all the time. You need that to be the Rangers manager. It's not just about being a great coach or being the best tactician in the world. You need to have a stature and be able to carry yourself. And if you're a player playing for Rangers and you know of Van Bronckhorst, which I'm sure all of them will, if they don't, they're not very good students of the game. Just look at his medal haul. As a player, I don't think you can't not be impressed by that. No,
I would totally agree with that. And Martin, again, logically, being a player shouldn't really matter. But we all know that certainly for a young coach, and he does have, success on his CV as a coach. That's the other thing. He will not appoint. This is not a Gerrard appointment. He's not being appointed because he played for Rangers 20 years ago. He's been appointed because he's a good coach who has success in a kind of similar environment, knows how to work on limited budgets, etc. But it doesn't half help that he can go, here's a picture of me captaining my side in the World Cup final, lads.
It's a good question. It'll depend really on how he conveys that stature, that experience, that history. We've seen players in the game batter when they go into manage and absolutely batter their new players around the head with, what I've done, what I've won, and they've told them to, fuck off basically, and they have been sold or they've been moved on pretty quickly because it's not impressive. It's the kind of thing that needs better unsaid. Just there, as David's run through his CV and what he's won and what he's done. And it's going to be interesting just how he carries himself now as Rangers manager with all this experience. And I'll be interested to see how different that is to Gerrard, because Gio's CV is more impressive as a player, but Gerrard was this figure. I mean, he was a genuine kind of superstar of the game. That was the big thing. Gerrard won things, but clearly there were quite a few things that he didn't win famously. So it will be interesting when we get in the media room, David, over the next few weeks, just to see how different he is and whether he needs to impress or whether he just lets his work and his messages just basically do the talking for him.
Yeah, I'm ready to love again, though. You know me.
Me too.
I get all in. Yeah, thank you, David. Yeah, Martyn, you're just a shell of a human, right? I'm a lover. I'm a romantic. You're a reformationist. That's the difference between you and me. That's a fact.
I can cope with that.
Yeah. You're John Knox. I'm Byron. I think.
Can I stop with David?
I'll leave that there.
Yeah, you Lord Byron, John Knox, and Dave. Yeah. So I've got some reaction here. Douglas Park said, "I'm delighted to welcome Giovanni as our manager to begin a new era and build further on what has already been achieved at the club. The team is in a good position on the park, and as a board, we will support both Giovanni and Ross Wilson to continue to make Rangers a success. I wish Giovanni all the very best in his role. I look forward to working closely alongside him." Johan Brinkel said, "I'm absolutely delighted to be returning to Rangers as the club's new manager. I feel so lucky to be going to work with the squad, which is in a great position on all fronts and largely has that experience of being winners. I look forward to carrying on and enhancing the work that has already been done alongside Ross Wilson and the board of the club, and I'm grateful for the chance to work again at this huge football club. I cannot wait to meet the club's incredible supporters again and begin this new era for us all." Ross Wilson said, "I am delighted to welcome Gio back to Rangers. He was respected throughout Europe as a player and has already shown why he has respect as a coach. He has already shown himself to be a winner. He knows the club, he knows the quality of squad, and is absolutely aligned with our approach and mindset. Outside of formal discussions, Gio and I have already had numerous other informal conversations, and I can see how excited he is. I am looking forward to introducing him to the squad soon. Gio has been part of a long list of managers we've been tracking for a period of time to ensure we are always ready. When Stephen intimated his decision last Wednesday, we immediately got to work on what was then a focus shortlist. We talks within 48 hours and concluded our decision making within 6 days of the role becoming available. We found agreement with Gio extremely quickly, and we have enjoyed working with him on assembling the backroom team that will complement an already excellent support staff that we have built here at Rangers." Right, Dave, on to then, his first match Sunday. I honestly don't think people would hold much against him if it went badly, but if it went well, what a start.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a difficult match anyway. They'll be right up for it, etc. Cliche. But, it's not exactly as if we've had a great record in this competition before Gio came in. He's got, a couple of days to work with the new squad before he gets out there. And it's understandable if something was to go south. I don't think it'll sour the water too much. It'll be disappointing in the time, obviously, because we want to win the game. We want to go on to win this cup finally again. But, yeah, I've got full confidence we will get a result on Sunday, but the main thing is, looking beyond this and particularly Gio delivering the league title again.
Yeah, we want this to be a years and years thing, don't we, Martyn?
Yeah, we're not bringing a new manager in to win the Premier Sports League Cup or whatever it's called this week.
We're not.
So yeah, absolutely, and it's why that even if they weren't quite sure on him, if it had been a real dilemma and a real conversation to be had maybe with another candidate, for example, and it had maybe spilled into next week and we didn't get a manager in place for the semi-final, it would have been frustrating. But what's more important is they got and they identified and they were finally clear about who they wanted long term. I think we'll be all right on Sunday. Listen, there's not going to be any need for huge changes. It's just going to give that boost. It's going to be having a very difficult 7 days for that Rangers squad, I imagine. And I would hope they're feeling a lot more positive now than they were this time last week. So you would hope that that's all that's required for Sunday in particular. And then it's not just Sunday, David. December's tough. It's a tough start for a Rangers manager. And hopefully you get the sense, and more is kind of coming through, I think, that things just have not been the same this season in that environment, that dressing room, Auchenhowie, whatever. And you just wonder if the air's been cleared
Yeah.
And it really is a new dawn. And these players who have obviously won things, have obviously done some great stuff over the last 18 months, that they can just click back into the gear that we know they're able to find. Now that uncertainty, that bit of weirdness has been removed, and there's a line drawn under it all, because that would be a huge thing in the next 5 weeks.
The coaching staff looks to be taking shape. His assistant Jean-Paul Van Gastel looks to be on his way, but also an interesting name, Martin, probably more for me and you than for Dave, Roy Mackay.
Yes, it's a very interesting name. What I mean, how many times was he linked with Rangers in about 2004 or whatever?
What a player he was, by the way.
Well, what a player. And I mean, this is very reductive. Apologies, I'm just hearing it, this morning. But I wonder where that leaves kind of Jermaine Defoe. Does Mackay take a kind of wider remit as a coach? Obviously, you're just looking at two expert finishers. The natural thing to do is, well, they could work a lot with our finishers and our attackers, but we obviously don't need two of those voices there. But yeah, another guy with a huge pedigree, track record, experience, that will just hopefully bring a bit of difference. Listen, I haven't been on the show as post Gerrard because I've been away, but the big question for us, the big challenge I think for this Rangers board was not just replacing the manager; it was replacing the staff. That's what's worked a treat for us. That's what's been the bedrock of the success we enjoyed last season. That's the big challenge, and those names are a good start, and it's exciting again to see what they can do as a group.
Right, we've actually got a bit of a bonus here, folks, because James spoke to Johan Brinkel from the Feyenoord fan podcast Kein Geloel, and they spoke a little bit about what we can expect as fans. So I'll just put you straight into that. But before I do, I'll just wrap up for today and thank, first of all, the splendid Mr. Martin Ramsey.
Our pleasure, David. Always good to be on in good news days.
Well, exactly. And the wonderful Mr. David Marshall.
This was a Dutch of class, boys, eh?
Oh, for fuck's sake. Anyway, yes. Right, folks. Right, folks, enjoy Geo Night, and we're looking forward to bringing you all the coverage of it tomorrow. And probably won't be much tomorrow because of Walters Memorial, but Saturday, Sunday, and I'll see you all at Hampden. So everyone, have a great night. Take care. We have a new boss. The king is dead, but long live the king. Take care, everyone. Bye bye.
So, Johan, my first question to you is, on the list of Feyenoord legends, how high up does Giovanni van Bronckhorst rank?
Well, he's up pretty high, maybe not so much as a player, because he's been good as a player at Feyenoord, but I think he's one of the biggest players who went through the academy. Of course, we have Robin van Persie who came back. We have Dirk Kuyt who won the trophy. But Giovanni van Bronckhorst is up there. I think he will be rated within the top 20 of Feyenoord players all time. So he's a big legend over here.
And I guess part of that is because he's a local guy who has played for some of the biggest clubs in world football, captained this country at a World Cup final, all of that aura as well, which adds to it.
He went through up the youth academy. He's from Rotterdam, which makes us proud as well. He played, of course, for you guys. He played for Feyenoord. He played for Arsenal. He played for the Rangers. He was captain of the Dutch national team at the end. So we are very proud to have him as an ambassador of our club, and we really like him over here.
Mm-hmm. When he arrived back at Feyenoord to take up a coaching position in 2011, did people at that point think that he would then go on to become a Feyenoord manager?
Well, there's a funny story. He when he retired from football, he immediately became a youth coach. I think he was a coach for like 1 or 2 years. He did the under-21 team. He did reasonably okay. Then he got promoted to be assistant next to Ronald Koeman. Basically, he was the second assistant. We also have another former captain of Feyenoord, Jean-Paul van Gastel. He was the assistant coach for a longer time. He was more experienced. He has been coaching the youth for a longer period. So everybody thought when Ronald Koeman decided to leave Feyenoord, everybody expected that Jean-Paul van Gastel would be the next head coach. Because he already said in the media that he wanted to be a head coach one day. But then all of a sudden, our former technical director decided not to promote Van Gastel, but he decided to promote Van Bronckhorst as the head coach. So we were a bit surprised, even though we always knew that he was going to be the head coach of Feyenoord one day.
When he took over as the main manager in 2015, what did you see from him in terms of a style of play? What is he very much the type of manager who sticks with a 4-3-3 formation, or does he maybe be a bit more fluid in terms of how he plays depending on who he's playing against? What type of manager is he in that respect?
In his tenure as a coach here at Feyenoord, and he's been our coach for like 4 seasons, I think he only played a different system than 4-3-3 once. When we played Manchester City in the Champions League, he decided to play with 5 defenders. All the other matches, even though when we played smaller teams or we played the big teams, it doesn't matter. He always likes to play the 4-3-3 style. So he likes to build up from the back. I think you also know Dick Advocaat. Has been a coach at Rangers, of course. I think his style of coaching is a bit like Dick Advocaat. Very defensive, a little bit reactive, but not trying not to allow too many goals and have the wingers and the strikers up front to score the goals to decide the games.
I was looking at some stats from certainly his. Think of the 2016-17 season, which I think everyone would think of when thinking of James management for obvious reasons, in terms of that being the title-winning season. And looking at the different areas of the field where goal opportunities really come from. And it's interesting looking at the difference between your goal contributions from the defence as opposed to an attack. When I compare it with how we are right now, there seems to be a lot more emphasis on the midfield for Giovanni's teams than perhaps for Steven Gerrard, for instance. Does that maybe show a bit of an influence from his time at Barcelona in terms of that way of thinking? Do you see some similarities and comparisons with when he was managing at the Kuip in terms of that style, or is it really his own brand of that?
I'm not too sure of that. He has, of course, played for like some big teams who loved to play the football. Arsenal back in the days was a good team that created a lot of chances, was quite offensive. Barcelona, of course, was a pretty good team. So I'm not really sure where he was formed the most. But we recognized a certain style here in Rotterdam when he took over as a coach, because it was always. He likes to play with the same guys, so he doesn't substitute a lot. When he has faith in a certain player, he tends to put him in. He's not afraid to make decisions, even though, for example, Dirk Kuyt, who was a Feyenoord legend as well, in the season that we became champions of the league, midway the season, he decided to bench Dirk Kuyt, which was a very tough decision, but he did it anyway, and I think it was a good decision. So he's a good coach. Only the football is not that attractive.
Interesting, because usually when you think of a 4-3-3, you would think that it would be more attractive. But from when we were talking before, you thought it was more conservative in terms of that. Do you think that was maybe because of him using the players that he had at his disposal, or do you think that he had the opportunity with the players that he had, thinking of guys like Basacicoglu and Elia and Vilhena, he could have been more creative in terms of the style of play?
I think it's a very good question. Where the team he had when he took over, finally we was basically a mess. The head coach stepped up 2 games before the ending of the season in 2016. This next season, he had a very good long run in which we won a lot of games before the winter break. After the winter break, we had the worst streak ever. I think we lost 7 games in a row, which is unheard of. Then he got Dick Kuyt was called in to help him because, of course, Giovanni van Bronckhorst was a starting manager. So the board of Feyenoord thought maybe it's good to have Dick Advocaat help him out a bit. So Dick Advocaat was here for like a month, helping Gio out. And I think that helped. Then we started winning again. And in the 2016-2017 season, the team we had was reasonably good. Was not the best of the league. PSV probably had better players. Ajax probably had better players. But we were a very tight, collect team. You named Bilal Basastikoglu is a right winger. He was always a substitute. He always came on. But he was not that good, for example, but we didn't have any better players. So I think we had like 12, 13 players which were good, while the other players were not that good. So it's a long answer, but I think what you're saying was true. The quality of the players was not that excellent, but he managed for some reason, he managed to make the best of it because, we had an excellent season. We became champions for the first time in 18 years. So he did very good in that season. The seasons afterwards, the quality of the team got better, but the results were not that much better. So there's like 2 sides to the story of Giovanni van Bronckhorst. In a way of winning, he is our most successful coach. He won the cup twice. He won the league once. So he won a lot of trophies, but especially in the end, the way of playing football was so predictable that everybody's like, okay, try something new because this is not working. Maybe you should try a different system. Maybe you should try other players. So in the end, after 4 years, I think it was good to decide from both sides that it was enough. But he's still regarded as one of the best coaches here at Feyenoord.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Did he bring through quite a number of young players from the Feyenoord Academy, or in terms of newer players into the squad, was that more done through buying in players in the transfer market?
I think we always talk about the 2017 season, of course, became champions. It was a good mix of players coming in from smaller teams here in Holland, because we didn't have the money and the budget to buy players from other clubs in Europe. But also the core of the team was made up of youth players. Tony Villena as a midfield player, for example, are both wing defenders, Congolo and Karsdorp, who became Dutch international players and went for a large number of money. Those are a couple of players. He does look at the youth. Mm-hmm. He's not afraid to put in a youth player when he's good enough. So that's one very good thing that speaks for him, which we like, that he always looked at our youth academy as well.
Johan Brinkel from the Feyenoord fan podcast, Kein Geloel, thank you for your time.
No problem, man. Good luck.
That was a Heart and Hand production.